Okay, so many people from my ghost story have been asking what it was like to actually grow up in the outback of Australia. I'm going to tell you what it was like, and if you've got any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Now, when I say outback Australia, I'm not talking about like a rural town. I'm talking about an isolated sheep farm like 300 kilometres away from the nearest big town. So it was all the way out in far west New South Wales near a place called Tibooburra. And because we were so isolated, I literally did school over a radio. It was called School of the Air. The school was actually based in the town, and the kids that lived there could attend the school like in person. Because the kids that lived on the stations were so far away, they actually tuned in over the radio. So I grew up in the 90s. This is a really old photo, but it was kind of like a setup like this. You had a main radio, and then you'd have all your workbooks and your pens and paper, everything like that in front of you. And so when the teacher would do a roll call at the start of the lesson, once they called out your name, you would have to chime in by pressing the button on the radio, and you would say your name followed by the name of the sheep station that you're on. And then once you wanted to sign off, you had to say over. So for example, it'd be like Michael Mount Hill over. Here's a photo of me and my cousin Matt doing schoolwork, and you can see the radio there. And in this photo, we were getting taught by the live-in governess that he had. I was always so jealous of this classroom. It was so cool. We also used to have these weeks during the school term called mini school, which is where all the kids from the surrounding properties would come in, and they would actually live in the town for the week and get to attend like the actual school. These weeks were always so much fun, and it was so good. You actually got to go in and attend school and have like a normal school experience. You actually got recess and lunches and got to play with the other kids as well. And there was a swimming pool there too, so you got to go swimming, which all sounds probably like really normal and basic for like 99% of the population who actually got a regular schooling experience. But for us, it was like crazy. And sometimes we had days where we wouldn't go to school because we were needed to help out on the property. That's doing things like sheep work, even doing things like fixing broken windmills and fences. I mean, I was riding a bike at a super young age. Disclaimer, this was a totally different time, but I actually knew how to drive a manual car by the time I was like 9 or 10 years old, which I know sounds crazy, but I had to know these things out there. And there were also these events called gymkhanas, which is kind of like a big social gathering where all the people from the surrounding properties would come together. There'd be all sorts of mainly like horse riding competitions, sort of a way for people to actually come together and connect and let off some steam. And they were always super fun because you actually got to see your friends. I'm telling you, we didn't have the internet back then. The only way to get in contact was over a radio or a phone call. Or like once in a blue moon, there were little get-togethers and you actually got to hang out with your friends for once. So anyway, I guess that's part one of growing up in the country. Sort of glazed over a lot of things, so I'm sure you've got questions. So leave them in the comment section if you want to know anything else about it. And then I could tell you about how I left home at the age of 12, sort of what it was like being a teenager in the early 2000s in a small country town. I'm telling you, I feel like I've lived 50,000 different lives at this point. Yeah, anything else you want to know, leave it in the comments and I'll do a follow-up video. Bye.